Welcome to Thez Nutz Garage, and we're working on project pro bono. So we got the car running, and then it's got a bad miss. Doesn't have hardly any power, so I'm working on checking into that. So I've taken off the ignition coil pack, and I think that's what the problem is. But what I'm going to do now is where I'm painting this fender. So let's go around here and I'll tell you what I'm going to kind of do, and then I'll come back as I'm doing the little steps. I've never done this before. I'm just trying to watch a couple of videos, whatever. So this is how I'm doing it. May work out, may not. So let's turn the camera around and I'll show you what I'm doing. All right, so when I got this car, I started washing it, and when I started washing it, some of the paint started coming off. Flaking off. So what I did was I took some 400 grit sandpaper and I sanded it down, tried to feather out the spots that were chipping. So as I started feathering it out, so it got down to the metal. So what I've done now is I've sprayed some etching primer over here on it, self-etching primer. I'm gonna let that dry for about an hour or so, and then I'm gonna come back with some 2-in-1 sand primer that I can sand. I'll sand it down, and then I've got some, go over here. My driveway looks like a disaster, but I have some of this perfect match duplicates original Ford colors. This is an Oxford white, which is what this car is and my truck. So as I'm testing this on this car, I may wind up fixing some small dings and dents in my truck, but I don't want to have to repaint my whole entire truck. So what I'm going to do with this paint, this Oxford white in this spray can, rattle can, is I'm going to paint the area, and I'm going to kind of feather it in with the original paint. And then once I put 3 coats of this Oxford white back on the car, I have some 2K primer in a can that I'm going to just sand the whole fender down with probably 400 grit. And when I prime it and I paint it, on my final coat of paint in this rattle can, I'm going to lightly do probably maybe a 600 or 800 grit paper, and then I'm going to clear it. And then after I clear it, I'm going to clear coat the whole fender, and then I'll come back and probably 1500 grit, the 1500 grit, the clear, and then I'll buff it out with a mild buffing McGuire or something or another. But just to try to blend it in, and I'm gonna test that out and see how it works. So as I come back after each stage, I'll just kind of show you what I've done. So I'm gonna let this dry and I'll get right back. So what we're going to do now is, while we're waiting for our primer to dry over there, is we're just going to I'm going to try to clean up this driver's side headlight here. I'll do that one when I get that side completely done, in case I get any overspray or anything on it. But this is a easy way, is if you'll do this every time, maybe you'll do it in the spring, summer, maybe in the fall. If you'll do this once every season, maybe in the winter you skip it and you hit it back in the spring. If you'll use this, like I said, like that throughout the year, you won't ever have to worry about your headlights turning yellow. This will keep it clean all the time and all year long. And this is McGuire's Plastex. That's basically it says great for headlights, and it really is. And it doesn't take a lot of any power tools. It just takes a little elbow grease. So all you have to do is get a rag, put a generous amount on it. What I like to do is just kind of dab it around the headlight. And these are pretty yellow, so this may take several times doing it. Maybe do it every week for a month or something, but it'll take a lot of it out. It's not gonna make it like new, but we'll be able to tell. And this, like I said, this has got quite a bit of yellowing to it. It's great for tail lights, your marker lights, They don't get as much wear on them because this is taking all the wind and the debris from the road, hitting it and scoring it up. But I usually do, when I'm doing my car, I'll go all the way around the vehicle. So you can see on the rag, it's pretty dingy. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use another rag and I'm gonna put some more on it. I could have reused the same rag, but and I've never tried putting this on like a buffer or anything. It might work. I've always had pretty good luck with just rubbing it on by hand. Like I said, this one is pretty yellowed, but even there you can tell that it's cutting through. So now I'm just going to wipe it down. And a lot of it's come out. I mean, it's a lot better than it was. What I'll do is I'll hit it again. A little bit more on it. And these headlights here, you can see that in the plastic is starting to, I don't want to say crack, but it's starting to get a lot of fine pits, and you might be able to, you know, go through the process of sanding it down and doing all that and making it like brand new again. But on this job, it's a freebie, so I'm not going to get into all that. So that's brought the headlight out quite a bit from what it was. And like I said, if you're starting out with a car that has new headlights in it, if you'll do this at least 3 times a year, it'll keep your headlights clear and keep them smooth and keep them where they're not pitted up. It's just like anything else. If you neglect something, you're probably going to have to put in 10 times the amount of work to get it back to where it should be. If you'd have just kept it up, you wouldn't have never had the problem. So that's McGuire's Plastics. You can get that at any store, AutoZone, Walmart, Target. Dollar General probably doesn't have this, so don't worry about going there. So, but that's this stuff, and that's the headlights. And let's jump back over there and put on another coat of primer. All right, back over on this paint job we're doing. I've kind of went back over it, the etching primer with a 2-in-1 primer, which is a filler sander primer. That's it right here. This is the good stuff. So I'm gonna let this dry, and then after this dries for about an hour or so, I'm gonna sand it and clean it, and then get ready to paint. And I will be trying to use some other paper than this. But maybe some newspaper, that'll work, or wrapping paper, whatever paper I got laying around. So let this dry, and I'm gonna get onto that, and we'll be back here in a second. Okay, now you can see I've taped off the car, or taped off this fender, and I put a coat of that 2-in-1 primer, and I let it dry, and then I sanded it with, dry sanded it with 320, and then I wet sanded it with 400. And I wet sanded the whole fender, and I'm just going to paint this whole fender with this Duplicolor paint. And what I've done here is I've just kind of put one coat, real light coat, just on the primered area. And I'm probably going to do that 2 more times and try to pull the primered area about white, and then I'll paint the whole entire fender. So that way it's all even. I don't have any uneven spots there. So when I get the whole fender painted, I'll come back and show it to you, and then we'll let her dry. Okay, so now I've painted this fender with this Duplicolor paint. It's all white. I'm gonna let it sit here and dry overnight, and then in the morning I'm gonna come out here and sand it real lightly, and then I'm gonna put some 2K clear coat on it and let that dry, and then I'll sand that, and then I'll kind of buff it out a little bit. So that's where I'm at so far. Doesn't look too bad for a rattle can. Well, see you in a bit. So it's the next morning. Yesterday I painted this front fender here with the can of Duplicolor Oxford white paint, and it took about 3 coats on the primed area and then another 3 coats on the entire fender, and it's come out pretty good. I've sanded it down this morning with 1500 grit sandpaper. Being that I was using a rattle can, it had a little bit of overspray on it, so I just smoothed it down, and now I'm fixing to buff it out. Now, I did the driver's side headlight yesterday with the plastics, and today I'm going to finish up this side over here now that I'm done painting. But you can tell this lens has got moisture on the inside of it, so it's pretty much done for. There's not a lot you can do when they start doing that, I guess. But I'll get that done, and then I'm gonna check back with y'all here in a bit. Well, we're towards the end of Project Pro Bono, and this morning I've buffed out the headlights again and got them as best as I could. And like I said, the passenger side headlight has got condensation in it, so really the only way to fix those properly is probably just to replace both headlights. I'll let them know about that and see what they want to do. But then now coming back to the fender that I painted, I buffed it out this morning using this little orbital sand buffer there, and with some Meguiar's fine cut cleaner. And I just did it a little bit, and then I just wiped it off, and there's a little shine to it. It matches the rest of the car, and like I said, this was from a Duplicolor rattle can, and I've got it to where it's pretty smooth when you touch it, and it looks a lot better than it did when I started washing it and the paint started coming off. As you can see here, that's how the paint had started on the fender, starting to come off like that. I noticed this after I started sanding this fender down, but I didn't fix that. That's kind of minute there to fool with, but that's basically the project. Like I said, when I got the car running yesterday, it does have a misfire due to I believe it's the coil pack, so I'm gonna put a new one of those on it and then send it on out of here. And appreciate everybody watching the videos and liking the videos, and share our channel with your friends, and if you haven't liked the channel, go ahead and do that as well. So once again, thank y'all, and have a very blessed day.